Hey YouTube, I'm doing a take 2 video towards the original stop start video I've done, and it's just a quick response to some of you guys that thought I did a little bit too much and ahhing and stuttering. Do bear with me, but this is not really my day job. I don't do these type of videos very often. So I will get better, I promise that, right? So hopefully I can do it a little bit better this time. I don't mind doing this. Just you guys let me know how I'm doing. Feedback's great, constructively, right? Be kind. First and foremost, I'm gonna do a check on my oil. Right now, the engine has been sitting for about 10 minutes. It's still very warm. As you can see, it's just above the full line. Let's see, I can't really see that. So I'm gonna do it once more, right? I have about 5,000 kilometers now, maybe 4.5 or so, and it's over the full line, sitting for about 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes. So that's actually not bad. I don't smell any fuel in the oil, so that is a good thing. The oil is a little bit dirty, but not to the point where I have to change it quite yet. So I will do that shortly. But here is my piece of paper that I'm going to be drawing on. I'm under the CRV this time. The first time I was under the Civic. Hopefully the audio is a little bit better as well. And I'm going to try to focus in a little bit better on the paper. So let's see, how's that? Okay, this is the original drawing from the other video. So I'm going to take some of these notes. I've put some notes on the side here as well. And so I'm going to just go ahead and start by saying auto stop start. Why should you be turning this off on any of the Honda 1.5 liter turbos, including any of the DGI engines? So any of the gas direct injection engines, especially if it has turbo, right? DGI plus turbo, please turn off the auto stop start function. And I'm going to go step by step to explain why you should be turning that off. Usually the car will have, on the Hondas, a little A with a circle and an arrow type of thing, right? That button, turn it off. When you turn it off, the dash will say auto stop start off. And that's when you know that it's not gonna turn on and off your engine while you are stopped at a stop sign. And then it will turn back on when you let go of the stop or brake and start to go, right? And why should you? So I'm gonna go ahead and illustrate how these engines work. So if you guys, for the ones that are pretty versed in what the internal combustion engine and how it works, obviously skip this part, but I do want to go through a little bit of it. That way, for some of their viewers that are not too familiar with what's going on in auto stop start plus internal combustion engine, basically you will have 4 pistons. This is inline 4 turbo, so you have 4 pistons. Actually refer to the original drawing. You have 4 pistons, so let me just go start by illustrating this part of it. You have 4 pistons, 2, 3, 4, and typically the 2 outer cylinders, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2 outer cylinders, 1 and 4 will be in one position. So if, let's say, this is the cylinders and the pistons, if you have pistons that are all the way at the top, so here's the piston at the top, 2 and 3 will be most likely at the bottom of the stroke in that area. And then you have 4 and 1 at the same spot. Excuse my drawings, it's pretty basic, but anyways. So these are your pistons, 1, 2, 3, 4. So that has a four cylinders. And then of course on the top you have your valves. And I'm going to illustrate it in here, right? So I'm going to draw one piston in this area. So you have one piston. You will have 2 rings, and these are your rings for your compression rings, and you will have an oil control ring. And typically it's going to have a bit of a wave to the ring, and it's basically to control the oil. It's almost like a little squeegee that squeegees the oil from staying in the combustion chamber where it should not be, right? So you got the cylinder, right, like so. And of course you have your rods that are connecting rods. And then on the bottom, you will have your crank, right? And then you have your valves. Most modern engines today have 4 valves per cylinder, including these Honda ones. Whether you have a Hyundai, Kia, Ford EcoBoost engines, all will have 4 valves per cylinder. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure they're all 4 valves per cylinder. So 2 intake valves and 2 exhaust valves. And valves are basically things that open and close. And then you have a spark plug in the middle, spark. And there's a spark, and you will have the high pressure. So that will be the high pressure fuel pump, and the injector that goes in this way. Sometimes it's there, sometimes it's here. Depends on the engine design basically, but it typically is going to be injectors that it will inject the gas into your combustion chamber. Okay, so that's what the illustration looks like. These pistons go up and down, obviously, right? And you will have 4 strokes, and the 4 strokes, that's why it's called a 4-stroke engine. It'll be intake, compression, and then you will have combustion, which is the power stroke, and then of course exhaust. So it'll go down for intake, because when the piston goes down, it will suck in from the intake side air. When it goes down to the bottom, it'll go back up for compression. So the piston goes up to compress, and as it's compressing, the direct gas injection, it'll be your injectors, right? Injectors will inject at a certain time. It's specific to when it quote unquote fires, pushes the gas into the combustion chamber at a high pressure. That's why, hence they say that there's a high pressure fuel pump that pumps it high pressure into the injectors at a high pressure. So it goes in while the compression is happening, and then when the piston goes up all the way to the top, compressing the air fuel mixture, there's a spark, and that's when there is combustion. So the spark will fire, in which case explosion happens and pushing down the piston, which gives you the power stroke. And then at the end of the power stroke, the exhaust valves will open up, in which case the piston goes back up, pushing all the exhaust gases outwards. And then that is the exhaust stroke. So what happens when we have auto start stop is when at proper circumstances, when the engine is warm and when the battery is full, charged, and a number of things have to happen, right, in order for the auto stop-start function to actually engage. There's my humming hog again, so excuse me on that. Either way, there is going to be circumstances when it won't, like if the engine's cold, if the computer system senses that you have low amperage from your battery, then it won't do that. There's a number of reasons why it won't engage, but it will engage in most circumstances. When you go to a complete stop, engine's warm, the engine will shut off automatically. And then when you disengage the brake pedal and push on the gas, the engine automatically turns on and you get going. The original reason why they did this is for satisfying CAFE, the government standards for emissions, right? Corporate, here I go again, right? But it's the corporate average fuel economy ratings that if a company like Honda has a good CAFE rating, right? And let me start by saying, saying that this engine has helped Honda have one of the best CAFE ratings of all car companies in the US. Why? Because this engine is very efficient. It really is 1.5 liter, small turbo, small displacement, and it outputs, in this CRV, it outputs 190 horsepower. The Civic hatchback that I have behind me has 180 horsepower, right? And it's all to do with how much pressure the turbo PSI is set at, right? And the Accords go all the way up to 200. And then you have the Integra base model, as well as the Civic SI, Sport SI. That one would have 200 horsepower, right? In which case it goes up to about 13 PSI. 13 PSI. I think this CRV is probably running around the 12, 11 to 12 range, PSI range, and that's how much the turbo is spooling up, how much pressure it is forcing the air into the engine at. So there's actually a force of air into the engine, as well as the high pressure fuel pump injecting the fuel into the combustion chamber at a high pressure as well, right? And so why am I going through pressure? Because this auto start function actually causes the engine to effectively stop the engine, sometimes mid-stroke, sometimes at the top of the stroke, right? Depends on which 4 strokes it is at. So let's say the engine has 2 cylinders at the intake and then 2 at the exhaust, right? Either way, when the auto stop-start function actually engages, it just turns off the engine, in which case these pistons can go and stay wherever it is. Like, there's a certain amount of inertia for these pistons to go up and down, right? And there's going to be a certain amount of control that the engine has to prevent it from being at certain strokes. But I mean, as you could see, it almost can be at any given part of the 4 strokes, right? And certainly when the pistons are in the intake stroke, right? Intake, and then up it goes into compression. On these engines, the compression, there's a ratio, right? Combustion, or the ratio of air fuel mixture being compressed. So it's called a compression ratio. The compression ratio of these turbo engines are going to be around the 10-1, around there, maybe 11-1. At higher RPMs, this compression ratio can change. What does change is actually the PSI, the turbo. This, I believe, it actually stays at a certain static rate, right? But the range is going to be around the 10-1 ratio. So 10 parts of air gets compressed to 1 part, and that's the compression as well. You know that your turbo is a spooler that causes your air to be pushed into the engine at this psi, about 13 psi. Then you also have your higher pressure fuel pump injecting this fuel into the combustion chamber at a certain psi as well, and I believe it's a very high pressure. I heard as much as 100 psi, but don't quote me on that one. I'll have to check my notes. But certainly there's a lot of pressure in these engines, and basically when you get to the top of this stroke, your compression, right, of your cylinder is going to be close to about 200 psi compression. So certainly at higher RPMs, this PSI is probably even higher, as high as 250, at high RPMs, such as, anywhere above 5,000 RPM, the compression ratio certainly can be higher because your turbo is up on the top and your high pressure fuel pump is at full capacity, pumping the fuel into your combustion chamber. What happens is that if this thing stops at the top of the stroke, this 200 psi is held while the engine is stopped. So think about that. You have 200 psi stopped, and how long are you stopped at a stop sign, right? I mean, I've had this engine stop and stay stopped at a stop sign for a good 2, 3, even up to even 5 minutes. So you have 200 psi of pressure stopped there for 5 minutes, right? And I'm not too sure if you guys are aware, but these engines, these new modern day engines, have low pressure fuel or low pressure rings. Low pressure rings that are designed specifically to be low friction, right? If these are very tight, as the piston is moving up and down, it will cause more friction. Therefore, you use more gas, right? Less fuel economy, basically. So they have designed these piston rings to be low pressure, low compression piston rings, right? Means that if at a certain type of circumstance, such as carbon deposits, right, they're not sealing the piston and the compression chamber 100%, right? So there's a chance that the 200 psi worth of fuel mixture air fuel mixture would actually seep into your crankcase. That's where we get our fuel dilution. And you guys may be thinking about some of the engines that burn oil, such as the EcoBoost and all the Kia Hyundai engines. They burn oil. So on the Honda engines, right, we are having stuff go down this way into the crankcase, into our oil, right? On the opposite end of the things, I believe I heard that Subaru engines do the same thing as well. Same as the EcoBoost, Ford EcoBoost, and the Hyundai Kia DGI engines, it goes the other way. So what happens is that these rings are not keeping the oil out of the combustion chamber. So it's not, it's allowing too much oil to go up this way and stay on the cylinders, right? And basically what happens with that is that the oil will burn, basically, right? If there's a bunch of oil that gets caught between here into the combustion chamber, it will burn the oil, right? Burn the oil, and it goes and seeps out of this way, goes out of your exhaust valves, and of course out into the air, right? Into your catalytic converter. You know, your catalytic converter then may fail, and then it goes into basically goes into the atmosphere, right? The burnt oil, right? And that's why you get oil burning, right? In our case, in the Honda's case, we're getting, I don't know which one is worse, right? But basically we have oil going down this way into our crankcase, and then basically you will check your oil and your oil will read too high. Why is it too high? Because the fuel, and sometimes even water, right? Okay, is actually getting into your oil in your crankcase. And when you read your oil is too high, and oftentimes you will actually smell some fuel in your oil. So if there's a solvent smell, and there's a little bit of a pungent solvent smell in your oil, that means you are getting fuel dilution or oil dilution. Another way to check is if you go, just unscrew my oil cap. If you see your oil cap, you can sniff it, right? You know, don't take a huge whiff, right? Or else you can, if there is fuel in your oil, then you probably get high off of it, right? But anyways, you want to take a look at this and make sure that is not white. If it has some white residue on it, like creamy white residue, right? It means that there's some water getting into your crankcase as well, which is another layer of issue. So hopefully you guys are not getting the fuel dilution, but if you are, then consider, highly consider to turn off your auto stop start. That is going to be probably your number one route to prevent fuel dilution in these 1.5 liter L series engines. Okay, so I'm going to check my notes, see if there's anything else that I missed. So yeah, there is a part of me understanding why Honda has done this because of the CAFE standards, right? But the thing is, at what cost, right? If you have fuel dilution causes the oil to be less, lose its lubricity. So when you lose lubricity, it means that you can have extra wear on a number of different parts. Your combustion chamber, which is your cylinder, can get scoring, and then you will damage your rings, right? Possibly damage your rings and oil control ring, and if it gets damaged, then it won't work, and then you're going to have burning oil or low compression engine, right? And The other thing that it can do is if you have fuel dilution, you're probably getting excess carbon deposit as well. So carbon deposits can damage the engine. It'll cause different things like your valve is not seating. So if the valve is not seating, is not sealing. So when you're supposed to have 200 psi. If it's seeping, not sealing, you basically will lose your compression, and it'll go down to maybe below 100 psi, or like let's say 90 psi to 120 psi, right? As low as, and obviously you can even go lower, but if you have that, then you'll lose a lot of power, and you will burn oil, and you will have a bunch of different issues, right? And what else, at what cost? This auto start function will burn out your starter motor, because if you think about how many times you do the auto start function, if you leave it on during a drive cycle, whether you travel for 10 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, 2 hours, right? Especially when you're in stop and start traffic, right? Stop and go traffic, it will go and turn off the engine as much as, let's say 100 times per drive cycle, right? So all that will contribute to excess wear on your starter motor. And furthermore, the starter motor is the one thing in your car, stock car, that will use the most amperage, the most power out of in your battery, right? So basically it can actually burn out your battery quicker. And then furthermore, if you burn out your battery, then your alternator will go in turn, because if you have a low battery, then your alternator is being overworked, in which case then your alternator can go, and then your battery goes, and then your starter motor goes, and all sorts of different issues, right? And then so the battery, alternator, excess wear. And then one thing that I have seen a lot of YouTubers go through, mechanics YouTubers go through, is the Accords and the CRVs have a high tendency to have problems with top gaskets, the gasket that's on the top end of the engine, right? This top part actually fails, right? Between these cylinders, there's a barrier, and there's coolant. There's reports of engines needing to be rebuilt due to the coolant seeping into the engine combustion chamber, right? And when that happens, it means that you are getting coolant into your combustion chamber, and then you will get all sorts of engine error codes, right? In which case, then you need engine rebuild. So again, at what cost are you saving that little bit of fuel and, I guess, less emissions into the environment when your engine stopped? Yeah, there's less of the exhaust, and you're burning a little bit less fuel, right? But then the cost is you may get these issues, and then it could be several thousands of dollars to repair, right? And it's not worth it, right? Currently, I'm not getting any fuel dilution in my engine, right? So, which is a good thing. I don't smell fuel in my engine anymore like before, because that is just the pungent smell of gas in my engine, and my where it was measuring on the dipstick was like half an inch over the full line, which is a lot. It means that it's going into the metal basically. And anyways, I brought it into Honda, and believe me, they're gonna tell you that is normal, and that these engines are too efficient, and it's he'll basically tell you as a feature, right? Because it's too efficient. That may be true, but then it's going to cause premature wear. So there's another thing that you can do, which is and I think I've actually mentioned it in the other videos, but 93 octane gas, well, 91 to 93, right? Octane gas is going to be another one, a level of protection, right? And then 5,000 mile oil change cycles instead of the 10,000. I'm probably going to go as low as 4,000, or if you have oil dilution, means that you have to smell in your gas, and you also have like overreading, like overfilled oil in your crankcase, then change your oil. If you don't change your oil, then you're going to be running with less lubricity in your oil, in which case your oil is your lifeblood of your engine, which basically you get premature wear and all sorts of different things. I mean, the thing is, like, on the flip side of things, you can just run the engine as is, right, and not even worry about it. A lot of people don't even check their oil, right? And then you might get error codes, and you bring in the engine, and Honda might warranty it, they might not. That's the thing, right? They may just say that too bad, we have to do a engine rebuild, right? It might be covered, but it might not be. And then the other thing is that, I'm planning to keep these cars past their warranty. I was quote unquote smart enough to buy these two cars out. I usually lease my cars. I think one of the YouTubers mentioned that, is this your first turbo car? The answer is no. I've had the 1.8Ts from Volkswagen, Audi, and I have also had the, I believe, the 2-liter turbo as well in the Audi, and then let's see, I've had the Mini Cooper 3-cylinder turbo, but those ones were all on lease. I never really even checked the oil because it's lease, and didn't really care about it until I got these two cars, and I thought that Honda fixed it back in 2019 where they did the updates, right? But apparently not. And Honda, I've had the Integra GSR 1.8 liter natural aspirated port injection engine, and it was a wonder. It was great. One of my I've had the 1.6 liter Civic Si before, and that was a great engine as well. We never had any issues with it, but I never really kept it that long past warranty, even those cars. And so, long story short is that if you plan to keep this engine long term, past its warranty, then turning that off, high octane, quicker oil change intervals will help, right? So hopefully this video is a little bit less humming and awing. I do apologize for the other video. Again, this is my first foray into like a YouTube channel. I like talking about this stuff. I will make some more videos on these two cars. I've done a lot of sound deadening, and then I also installed aftermarket speakers, aftermarket subwoofer. Those type of things is my first time doing it as well, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun, a lot of hard work, a lot of time and hard work, but through the last few years, we obviously had a fair bit of time to do things, right? Some hobby things, and this is one of the hobbies that I took up. So yeah, and I do appreciate you guys and all the comments. It was great. I do appreciate it, and keep it coming. I actually really like doing this, so one day I hope to get to have a decent YouTube channel, and get some more graphics and learn how to do the other things like slicing videos and editing and things like that, right? So then you know, I can bring some better content to you guys and cut out my umming and awing. So yeah, so let's leave it at that. I will keep you guys all updated on the fuel dilution and some of the modifications that I've done to the car, and I will outline that. And let me start by telling you that on the Civic with the Bose, so we have the Civic Touring hatchback, Civic Sport Touring hatchback, and it comes with this stock 12-speaker Bose center point sound system. And I've never really been a fan of Bose, to, you know, just to, with a disclosure there. However, the sound system is decent, right? It's a decent starting point, but there's a bit of a hollowness sound to that sound system that it was just hard to listen to. I'm not an audiophile, but I do appreciate good sound. So I did the sound editing and then changed out the speakers, and there basically is only one brand of speaker that I know of that can replace Bose stock speakers in a car without messing up the, I guess you could say, timbre or the impedance, right? Because Bose speakers are low impedance speakers in the vehicles, and you can't just pick any speaker like from Alpine or JBL or what else is popular, Pile, you know, those type of speakers, and just put it in there and expect to get better sound. You're gonna probably get slightly, or if not worse, sound if you just go ahead and do that. But I will go through that a little bit more in the next few videos, and I'm excited to do that part because that is more of a positive spin on things. Instead of, you know, dealing with an issue, I'm dealing with something that I've done to improve things. Good starting point and improvement, right? So I'm excited to bring that to you guys. So please subscribe. That'll help me get this YouTube channel off the, you know, get to that 1,000 subscriber point. I'm far from it, so I do appreciate you guys subscribing and commenting, and then liking will help the YouTube algorithm, help people find my videos, and then go from there. Yeah, so there you go. You guys take care.